Yes, indeed, folks, you're tuning in to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. Straight back into the content and no breaks or nothing like that. We've got a lot to cover today. So, you will be aware, of course, if you were looking at the site on the 1st of April, that there was a trick, an illusion. Not an illusion of choice, a April Fool's prank. This April Fool's prank involved Pimp My Mount. Or should I say P1MP. My mount. Yo, dog, I heard you like April Fools, so we put an April Fool's joke on our site so you can be fooled in April. Yeah, or something to that effect. It's a stupid meme and it should have never gone anywhere. Now, Pimp My Mount is obviously an April Fool's, but it's the first April Fool's that I've ever seen that I've actually been genuinely disappointed that is not actually occurring. No, that's not true. That's the second one. The first one was twin-headed ogres. And most of you probably won't even remember that. That was going way back. I think that was in beta. Yes, it was. Where two players could inhabit a single character, a twin-headed ogre. It was like, oh my god, that's the best thing ever. Of course, it never happened. It was a complete and total fake. But, well, there you go. Now, Pimp My Mount brings up an interesting thing. This is how most of my content works. You might have noticed this. I'll take something and I'll kind of try and espouse it and expand it into something bigger. And this is what it triggered off in my mind. This is how my trains of thought work, yeah? I saw Pimp My Mount, and I thought, that looks pretty cool. It's a funny April Fool's joke. Looked at the screenshots, had a laugh at the storm something or other. What are they called? Like tigers. I don't even know. I don't know Alliance mounts, especially not Night Elves. I don't play Night Elves. But that tiger thing with the cannon and the rocket boosters on the back of it. That was pretty funny, but whatever. What it triggered off in my mind and started the train of thought was, WoW really is a cookie-cutter game. Really. And it's become more, way more, in Wrath of the Lich King than it ever has. Now, let me remind you of a bit of controversy that started when Wrath of the Lich King first came out. There were complaints that a lot of gear in the game looked the same. Now, Blizzard's argument here, and I do believe their argument, don't get me wrong, I believe that what they were saying is true, although I do not believe that there was not an ulterior motive of, lol, now we don't have to design as much stuff in there, because, that's just corporate practice and saving time and cutting corners. It happens. Particularly considering we know Wrath of the Lich King was rushed out to meet the Christmas release date. So, their response was simply that they wanted to basically get rid of Skittles Troll. Yeah, this is what they wanted rid of. And I applaud them for getting rid of Skittles Troll. Don't get me wrong. I don't like being Skittles Troll. I hate it. Skittles Troll is very silly. People come up to me and lick me and ask if they could taste the rainbow. Doesn't work. They taste sweat, mildew, and leftover beans. Now, that is an okay argument. The problem is that, yes, it does cause people to look the same, and it removes some of the excitement from the game. It removes some of the individuality. Now we've got to endgame, and we've been at it for months. How many people do you see in, like, Tier 7 and Tier 7.5? Eh? How many do you see? Metric tons. Not only that, how many casters do you see with that stupid HUD? I mean, think of it. It's a cowl of... Is it Thaddeus? Thaddeus' cowl? No, sorry, Gothic's cowl. I'm wearing it. Best in slot headpiece for a mage, yeah? It's the same as the cowl of Sheet Lightning, which is the same as... Hang on a minute, let me see how many models you chose. Let's all have a trip to Wowhead, right now. Let's go have a trip to Wowhead. Go up Gothic's cowl, yeah? Spelt with a K. Now, what you can do on Wowhead is show same model as. There are 7 different models. Yeah? There are 7 different items that have this model. Yeah? 7. We've got, let's see, 2 of them are from 10 mans, and 5 of them are from 25 mans, yeah? Sartharian drops one that looks like that. Malagos drops one that looks like that. There are 3 in 25-man Nax that all look the same as that. And that isn't all either. I mean, there are plenty of things that look like this. there are plenty of issues whereby you see this stuff. I personally think that cowl is stupid, so I've turned it off. But you see so many, and it's not the first time either. You compare that to, say, something that happened in TBC or before that with standard WoW, vanilla WoW, and just show me something, particularly Endgame, that has 7 different model shares, because I don't think you'll find one. Well, I think what has happened there is that, yes, in the effort to kind of look standardized and look neat, they've actually taken a little bit of spice out of the game. So, because we've got all of these people looking the same, when you say something like, hey, you'll be able to customize your mounts, even if it is an April Fool's joke, it's actually a bit of a cruel joke. And of course, don't get me wrong, I wasn't expecting them to put it in the game, but it does bring to light the fact that players would love to be able to do that. It's stupid, don't get me wrong. I mean, look at it. It's got cannons on it and neon lights on the bottom of a holy warhorse and stuff like that. I mean, that's silly, but also there's an element of, I would quite like to do that in there. And why? It's the same reason that I go out of my way to get stuff like from WoW, TCG, loot codes and stuff like that. I've got stuff like, I've got the Big Blizzard Bear, which comes from BlizzCon. I've got the Murloc suit, I've got the Murky, yeah? That makes my character more unique than everybody else on the server. There's no one on the server that has all of that stuff. Not even close. I've also got stuff like the Goblin Gumbo. I've got the Disco Ball. I've got... what else have I got? I've got that Tabard of the Flame, the Epic Tabard. And I've also got the Picnic Basket, which of course now is less unique because the Valentine's thing just reused the model. I've got all that stuff. Why do I have it? Well, it's kind of cool, but it also makes me unique, and I like that, because my character is my character, and I've had it for this long, and I want to make it as unique as possible. And indeed, by picking a troll, I went a long way towards that, considering I believe trolls are the most underplayed race in the entire game. Which is fine by me. It just means that the vast majority of players are simply not good enough to handle the troll. Weaklings. Now, I was reading on one of the official Blizzard fan sites, one of our fellow official Blizzard fan sites, in fact, 10 Ton Hammer, today. I was having a look at their stuff because they do a great series of articles by Matani, the Spy Master of Goonswarm, for EVE Online, called Sins of a Solar Spy Master, which is well worth reading if you like spaceship drama, which is what you get. Internet spaceship dramas. Bad, crazy, and internet space. It's great. You should go read that. But they also have some good WoW articles. Today, they had an article by the guy who is creating Star Trek Online, which is an MMO that I'm very interested in because I am basically a giant freaking Trekkie nerd. I have been for ages. You have no idea how many technical manuals. And I have 4 editions of the damn encyclopedia. I've got the initial softback, I've got the reissue, I've got the reissue, and I've got the CD-ROM version. 4 copies! I've got all of DS9 on DVD, all of Voyager on DVD. I don't like TNG that much, so I don't have that. And obviously I haven't really got too much into Enterprise because it kind of sucked. But, I think, Voyager was pretty good, but DS9 was the peak of Star Trek, and I'm very, very excited to see the new movie. Now, why am I talking about this on a WoW show? Well, the answer is simply this. Because I was reading the interview, and they were talking about spaceship customization and what you're going to be able to do. And not only that, but they were talking about race customization. And those are 2 things which are kind of a big deal. Now, bear in mind who's behind this. I believe Cryptic Studios are their name. They're also behind Champions Online. They are part of the original team that created City of Heroes. Now, City of Heroes was famous for one thing and one thing only, and that was its ability to create a custom superhero with a myriad of different looks. Massive numbers of different looks. That game wasn't about gear. That game was about creating something from the start and looking like that for basically forevermore. So they gave a lot of customization options. Now, Star Trek Online straddles that line by saying, yes, we're going to give a lot of customization options, but we're also going to give options that actually do affect you in a very meaningful manner. You're not going to have the same ship for the rest of your life. You are going to be able to upgrade your ships, and you're going to be able to do so visually as well as statistically. But we're going to give a lot of those customization options away from the start, so that you can have your own ship that looks like what you want it to look like. And that gives you a uniqueness. Not only that, but you can design your own alien race, which again, also gives you a unique aspect. Makes your character unique. Now, creativity has become a big deal in gaming lately, particularly with the release of Spore and Little Big Planet. And WoW, I think, has really dropped behind in the level of character identity that you can have. And I think character identity is very important, because if you want people to play your game for a long time, they are inevitably and invariably going to get attached to their characters in some form. Of course, it's going to be to a greater or lesser degree. You'll notice that a lot of people are alcoholics. Yep, they actually do play an awful lot of alts, and they really don't get attached to any character in particular. However, what you will also find is that there are people that do get very attached, myself included. I get really, really attached to my characters. Seriously attached. And I want my character to be unique. And yeah, all of these other guys are also wearing tier 7.5. And once we get to Ulduar, everyone's going to be wearing tier 8. It's going to look the same. And that's kind of dull. So, Pimp My Mount is kind of an example of what Star Trek Online is integrating from the start, and what City of Heroes has had from the start, which is the ability to give your character a unique look. Now, I'm not saying bring in Pimp My Mount by any stretch, even though it would be awesome. I know they're not going to do that, because that's just a little bit too silly. However, they could learn a lot of lessons from other games. Here's an example. Warhammer Online. Comparative title, yeah? More PvP orientated than WoW. Less player base, has some issues. I stopped playing because the leveling, in my opinion, was too dull. And I wasn't actually enough into their kind of PvP. The PvP that I wanted to do wasn't really going to happen till endgame, and I just couldn't be bothered. Plus, I didn't have the time. However, they had an interesting feature called trophies. Now, trophies were cosmetic additions that you could wear on certain areas of your character. And they would not only give a visual change, but would also represent things that you had done. So say if you had an elf head or whatever, you was like, hey, I've been killing elves, blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that. I had a spoon. I was a goblin squig herder. My trophy was a spoon. I had conquered the breakfast cereals. Yes, I was mighty indeed. That's one example. There are other examples. PlanetSide. PlanetSide introduced a system of ribbons. Ribbons which would go on your, I believe it was your right or left pauldron of your armour. And there were various different coloured ribbons for all manner of different things. It was basically their way of having achievements, yeah? They brought it in way more before WoW did, and it was visual. But admittedly, it wasn't a very good visual, but the principle remains. You could customise your character to some degree using that. Plus, there was also different coloured armours that you could get if you'd been there for a long time and stuff like that. Admittedly, not an awful lot of them, by any stretch of the imagination, but they were there. Another example, Guild Wars and Hellgate London. Both of these games allowed you to customise your armour by using dyes. That's something that, again, WoW doesn't have. And that also allowed you to be very unique in that respect. So there are plenty of examples in the MMO genre whereby the customisation of your character after the fact, it's like post-factory, yeah? It goes off the production line, but it's aftermarket stuff, yeah? I'm okay with that. I think that's a good idea. And it is telling, and it does link in with the lack of content, that everyone looks the same. I think also that Blizzard need to start being a bit more imaginative with their gear. The homogenization of gear has caused people to start wearing the same stuff. We had a lot of variety back in Vanilla WoW, and to some degree in TBC as well, because of the sheer number of items and choices that you had to make. The homogenization of gear in Wrath has made you wear less stuff, and of course with the item sharing that makes it even worse. Everybody looks identical. And you might wonder, well, to be honest, is this just a cosmetic issue? Does this really matter? I would say yes, because I do think the attachment of your character is very important, and it also is telling in the social environment of WoW. WoW is a social game, not even a question about that. It has a lot of social elements in it, and part of a social kind of group is the distinction between player and player. If you are meeting with people and you have, say, never met them or talked to them before, one of the first things they will notice is what you are wearing. And that applies as well in WoW. If you meet someone in this kind of gear or whatever, you will notice various things about them. You will also notice if a player has gone to great lengths to look a particular way. That's why RP servers, for instance, do this way better. They don't... And if you're running around in an RP outfit, you're not running around because of its stats. You have put something together that looks good. Now, I think they could learn a lot from what the RP players have been doing and expand this area of customization into the game. Not via Pimp My Mount or anything, but Pimp My Character is a different matter entirely. You've allowed people more hairstyles and stuff like that, and the barbershop and indeed character recustomization has been very popular so far. I believe that gives a strong indication that players are desperately looking to diversify their character from everyone else, to stand out from the crowd and to be unique. I would suggest that Blizzard takes stock of that, looks at other games, and works towards a system whereby that can be done, whether it be via ribbons, trophies, armor customization, pimp my mount, whatever, or a combination of all of the above. Customizable stuff, very important. Character identity, vital for a persistent game. Absolutely vital. If you're going to be looking at the same character every day for 4.5 years, you damn well better be happy with it. And you want to know exactly how it looks and customize it to your liking. So otherwise, it breaks some of the attachment you have. And that's not good. So people who aren't attached to the game, well, you know what? They might go and find another one. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuits. I'll be right back after this. Enjoy.